Okay, good afternoon. I now call to order the regular meeting of the Santa Barbara Unified School Board on Tuesday, January 27th. The time is 4:34, I'm sorry. Are there any public comments on closed session items? Okay, seeing that there aren't, we're going to adjourn to closed session to consider the items listed on the agenda, including personnel, labor negotiations, and anticipated litigation as authorized under the Brown Act. Okay, hello, we're returning to regular session now at 6:08. And first, we'd like to have a presentation regarding language access.
Thank you. We have interpretation available through Zoom. We have interpretation into Spanish and ASL interpretation. Muy buenas tardes. Tenemos interpretación al español disponible por medio de Zoom por si alguien gusta escuchar la presentación en español. Gracias. Thank you.
Okay, and I also wanted to announce that the board president isn't able to be here, and I'll be presiding over the meeting. The district is committed to providing language access for our community, and translation services are available upon request. I'm sorry, the American Sign Language. Dr. Maldonado, can you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Please stand and face the flag.
The board did not take action in closed session, and now we'd like to go to the student board member report.
Thank you. Hello, good evening. A student walkout was recently hosted at Dos Pueblos High School, where dozens of students left campus during school hours in the Free America Walkout. The event took place on Tuesday, January 20th, the one-year anniversary of our current president's inauguration. The event also hosted students protesting an array of pressing issues that our students are most passionate about. Other high school sites are also planning similar events in the near future as political tensions and fear rise within our school environments. In other news, this Friday, the Student Advisory Council will be reviewing the applications for our first cohort of the Scholars Helping Scholars program. We have over 30 applications filled out so far, and we are hoping to have students meet in groups at their schools next week and then have them in our 3 school sites, the Santa Barbara Community Academy, Franklin, and Monroe, within the next couple weeks. I'm very excited for the launch of this program and to share more good news about the program in future meetings. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we'll go to the superintendent report.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome. There is a saying that guides us: when one hurts, everyone hurts. We know the recent news regarding immigration enforcement continues to cause deep anxiety for many of our students and staff, as evidenced by the student board members' report on the student walkout. I want to continue to acknowledge that the fear and anxiety that exists, and I want to continue to double down and be clear on where we stand. Santa Barbara Unified remains a place where every student is treated with dignity, regardless of immigration status, background, or belief. Our schools are safe environments where families can seek support without fear. We are backing this commitment with action. Our family engagement liaisons are working daily to connect families with legal resources, know your rights training, and more. We are also ensuring our staff is trained and ready to support our students through these uncertainties. To our families, if you are worried, please reach out to your school's liaison or front office. We are here to help, and we are committed to walking through this together. Next, I'd like to provide an update on the junior high school cell phone policy. In an update to our off and away all-day policy, we're excited to announce that the policy is now in effect in all day TK through 8th grade. Previously, the change was in effect as a pilot at La Colina and Goleta Valley. After positive feedback from both campuses, La Cumbre and Santa Barbara Junior High adopted the off and away all-day policy starting after our winter break. I want to thank our staff at those schools who made this mid-year adjustment. The most powerful lesson from the pilot was seeing the change during lunch and passing periods. Without phones, students are lifting their heads and actually talking to one another again. I actually had the opportunity to cover La Cumbre Junior High for a couple of hours as a principal, while the principal and his staff were in a training. And I also got to observe during lunchtime and was guided by some of the safety workers that are there, that kids would typically not be moving at lunchtime because they would be sitting around with their phones. And as I walked, I was like, nobody seems to have a phone. Everybody was running around, moving around, and generally talking to each other, looking at each other, walking together. So I have seen it in action myself, and that was at La Cumbre. This policy ensures that school is not just a place for academic focus, but a place for genuine human connection. Next, I'd like to share our Collaborative Spirit Award, being given this month to the Santa Barbara Junior High School 7th grade math professional learning community. Recognized for their exemplary collaborative spirit and going above and beyond to become the district's model for effective small group instruction. This team, uniting general ed, education teachers, special ed teacher, and curriculum specialists, doubled their weekly planning time to ensure deep alignment to support all learners. Their unified efforts have transformed 7th grade math into highly engaging, fun classrooms where students thrive. And by the way, I'd like to invite board members, if you want to go visit, it is something to observe. I don't even want to try to describe it, but if you want to go see it, I'd love to take you to see that class. And finally, I want to recognize that January is School Board Recognition Month. To our trustees, thank you. Being a board member is a volunteer role that requires long hours, difficult decisions, and a true heart for service. We are grateful for your leadership, your governance, and your constant advocacy to ensure that every student in Santa Barbara Unified has the opportunity to not just survive, but to thrive. Thank you for all that you do. That's the end of my report. Can we give them a nice round of applause, everybody? Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Maldonado. Now we will go to public comments on non-agenda items. This is the time for public comment on items not on the agenda, but within the jurisdiction of the board. The board may not take action on these items.
Okay, so we have 14. Okay. All right. Yeah, we're going to go 2 minutes. Yeah,
Okay, so we're going to have comment for 2 minutes.
correct. Let me just get them into order. Okay, we are going to start public comment on non-agenda matters. There's going to be 2 minutes per speaker. I'm going to announce the first 3. The first 3 is, I believe it's Erin Cavazos. The second is Faith Kingsbury. And the third is Deborah Reed. Erin Cavazos?
Yes. Good evening. My name is Erin Cavazos, and I'm a preschool teacher at Harding. I've been in ECE for the district for 17 years. First, I would like to thank the negotiation teams from both the union and the district for working towards a solution regarding meeting frequency, district duration, and location for our ECE staff. During COVID, our department added several different kinds of meetings to help our team collaborate and navigate this difficult time. But these meetings were all scheduled in our 8-hour workday. This is not the case any longer, and meetings have been requiring travel time, going past our 8-hour day, and really a complete loss of our prep time every time we have a meeting. So by allowing virtual meetings, cutting down only on to the required meetings by our contract with the state, we can preserve more of our prep time for our staff. As teachers, we all want our classroom to be inviting, ready, and inspiring. And when we lose one afternoon a week for district meetings, that's very stressful for us. That leaves teachers feeling less than prepared. Add an IEP or 2, and we lose even more prep time. So again, I want to thank the district negotiation team for working with us, and our staff and our admin, because our changes support not only teachers, but also our ECE admin. It's a collaborative effort. So thank you. But I would also like to mention that in ECE, 0 to 4 years old, we use the arts to engage students in broader academics every single day. For example, in my classroom, music provides experience in rhythm, counting patterns, rhyming, as well as exposure to broader vocabulary and other cultures. The visual arts provide experiences in pre-writing, shape, science, could go on, dramatic play. I'm gonna run out of time. Basically, we use art to teach everything, and studies provide knowledge that the arts provide opportunities for learning across academic areas, and I really wish that the board and our admin would work together with our staff to make sure that junior highs and high school have all the arts available to all our students, especially our most vulnerable. Thank you. Sorry.
Thank you for
That
speaking.
2 minutes is very fast.
Faith Kingsbury?
Hi, good evening. I'm Faith Kingsbury, a Black Student Alliance Coordinator at Healing Justice Santa Barbara, and I would like to thank you all for our third-year partnership. We're happy to... Oh. Psst. Oh, I'm not speaking loud enough. This is better? Oh, no worries. I would like to thank you for our third-year partnership, and we're happy to announce that our increase in participation is now up to 89 students consistently. We are very prideful that our students were able to gain their mental health first aid certification, and we awarded 10 of our most consistent students with scholarships. And we are hosting a spring conference to elevate and support more of our youth across the region with UCSB. Moreover, we will be hosting a trolley tour to honor Black History Month. This is important because Black History Month or Black history specifically, is directly being attacked by the current administration. Supporting Black youth and their families are crucial. Sharing Black history should be embraced all year. Before closing, it's very important to note how difficult it has been for students and families to process the violence happening in Minnesota. As we continue to see Black people be erased. I would like to say justice for Mr. Keith Porter, who was harmed by ICE. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Faith, will you send us the information and details on the events coming up? Thank you.
The next speaker will be Deborah Reed, followed by Joel Block, Stephen Hughes, and Roberta Ortega. Deborah Reed?
Good evening. Typically, I show up with something written, and I realize that inhibits my ability to make eye contact with you when we're having a conversation, so I'm just trying something a little bit different. I just want to take this opportunity to speak to you about the elementary school teacher prep time. Elementary school is the foundation of education for our students, and any house or structure is built on a solid foundation. In order to ensure that those teachers have every opportunity to prepare lessons for their children, they have to have prep time. Every single one of us, whether we're preparing a meal, whether we're preparing to come up and speak to one another, whether we're preparing to a case in a court or to perform surgery, we all have that opportunity to prepare. When we do not have time, sometimes we throw things together at the last minute. It's not always our best effort. The elementary school teachers have probably one of the most important jobs as we're sending students up. I work at the high school when I have students who are juniors and seniors who are unable to read or complete basic math, and we wonder, where did we miss it along the way? Maybe if we ensure that those students have those skills dialed in before they progress through junior high and high school, by the time they get to us, they will feel a little bit more invested in their education. And I often have students who look at me and say, I can't believe that you want me to pass these classes in order to get my diploma, because for the 8 years prior, I was just sent along regardless of whether or not I had mastered a skill. So why is it suddenly that I have to show proficiency? So maybe if we can have them showing proficiency from the very beginning, that will instill in them the notion that we do care and that we are keeping them and ourselves accountable. And in order to do that, we have to provide the elementary school teachers with adequate amounts of time to prepare for the students. Thank you.
Thank you. Joel Block?
Good evening. Behind you reads the mission statement. We prepare students for a world yet to be created. Unfortunately, due to the policy of unfettered open enrollment, the lack of 7 periods, and the use of free periods, the world you have created is one that perpetuates a white supremacist system, segregation of economically disadvantaged students, particularly at the junior high level, and disallows the ability of those students to enhance their education and prepare for the modern world by taking the high-quality electives that other students have access to. The teachers' union and members of the public have made it clear that fixing these issues is a major priority. The response of the district personnel has been to do everything they can to perpetuate their own power and limit involvement of the teachers and the public. The district has refused to negotiate with teachers on these issues, stating that they are not required to do so and will solve them on their own with maybe some input from others. The district may not be required to negotiate, but it is still the right thing to do, although that seems to have little of any impact on what the district decides. And what is the school board doing? They regret and commiserate, but do nothing. Regret and commiseration do not solve problems. Board consistently refuses to give direction to the district, and even when those few times directions are given, the board abdicates its responsibility to enforce its decisions. We just went through a long, difficult process in which trust was lost, and while the board speaks of taking steps to regain trust, the refusal of the district to negotiate the priorities of the teacher and the community, and it's being allowed to do so by the board, is a sign that nothing has changed. I urge the board to do its job and instruct the district to negotiate on these issues. Thank you.
Thank you. Stephen Hughes.
Good evening. My name is Stephen Hughes. I'm the music teacher at La Colina Junior High. I also work for Santa Barbara Youth Symphony. I also work with the Nick Rail Band Camp during the summers, and I help to coordinate the district's honor band program. So all this to say, I know kids from many, if not most, of the campuses in our district. And this is the time of year when 6th grade families come up to me and say, Mr. Hughes, we are getting ready for 7th grade, and we're in this neighborhood. And I say, great, you're in GV. You're gonna love Miss Nelson at the music teacher at GV, or you're in La Cumbre. You're gonna love Mr. Ortega at La Cumbre, or you're going to SBJH, and you're gonna love Mr. Windsor. And what I'm about to say sounds like I'm coming after Mr. Windsor. It's not. He's a math teacher. He has a math credential from the state of California, not a music credential. He's teaching the music classes because there's not enough kids in the program to hire a music teacher to come in and do it. And in the same way you don't want me running your math programs, you definitely, it's a particular subject that has deep knowledge that doesn't just come out of nowhere. You have to work at it in order to know what you're teaching, right? And I know he's working and doing what he can. It's 20% of his job and 80% is math. So when I talk to these kids and their families, right, I say, great, you're gonna love your school, and I encourage them to go to their home school as much as I possibly can. But the truth is, I said I helped to coordinate the Honor Band program. This is the first year in about 25 years, at least, that our Honor Band program won't have kids from every single school at SB Unified. There aren't gonna be kids from SBJH. No one's fault, except the people who are making the decisions at the top who can't make these programs happen. We need a 7-period day. Everyone said the union would not negotiate over this. We're ready to negotiate. So I encourage everyone to get to the negotiating table with the union so that we can start to make this happen, all right? Thank you, I know my time's up.
Thank you. Roberta Ortega.
Good evening. My name is Roberta Ortega. I'm a teacher at Santa Barbara Community Academy. I've been teaching in the district for over 30 years, and you would think that it would be easy by now, but it's not. I'm here to speak about the need for prep time for elementary school teachers. So this is an example of our manual for English language arts, which there are 36 lessons per module, and our math program, and this is just 2 of the topics. And so I made copies for all of you of just a couple of examples of lessons so you could see what is involved in just planning for 2 lessons. So just for example, for this math lesson, I have to photocopy and cut out cards to make 10 sets for the students to be using during the lesson. I have to photocopy their assessment for the end of the lesson. After I give the lesson, I have to look at their work and then plan for intervention for the next day. We are given a pacing guide at the beginning of the year where we are supposed to be doing 1 lesson per day. And then we are given 45 minutes a week to plan for all of that. So this is only 2 topics. I also teach science and ELD. We have to plan for intervention groups, so I have other people coming in to help me. I have to make plans for them so they can work with my students. Besides that, I have to review student work, parent communication. I communicate with the parents about issues that come up. I do grades. We have to give midpoint notices. For an example, that is happening now. The window opens on Friday for us to be putting them into areas that it closes on Tuesday. So is the expectation that we're doing them on the weekend. And then I also want to point out at the beginning, Dr. Maldonado highlighted the PLC at Santa Barbara Junior High and said the amazing work that they were able to do with double the planning time. Imagine what all of our teachers could do if we had more than 45 minutes a week to plan. Thank you. I hope that you are able to give the teachers more planning time. And I'm going to leave the copies of the plans.
Thank you. I didn't announce the subsequent speakers, so I'll announce them now. Next will be York Shingle, followed by Rich Lashua, followed by Becca Wrench. York Shingle.
Good evening. I'm York Shingle, SBTA president. Why do you think it's okay to treat people poorly? Why do you think it's okay to treat our elementary specials teachers like they aren't part of the contract? Why do you think it's okay to treat parents like they aren't worthy of communication? And board, why do you let them? In May 2024, Dr. Maldonado said the 7th period day is a negotiated item with SBTA. It's not something we can unilaterally implement. So now we're trying to do that, and you've moved the goalposts. It's this kind of management that leads me not to trust you. You'll sit and talk for hours and hours, and then we jump through the hoops you've created, and then it's something else. Your team could have come back with a proposal about periods of the day that didn't involve instructional minutes. But you didn't. You just refused. That's not effective leadership. The way this pans out is that you make a decision that supposedly takes our voice into account, but it's decided without our agreement. And then we have to impact bargain it. And I'm seeing how that's playing out for our elementary specials teachers. It's not good. We are wasting time and money to get them the basic agreements of our contract. And you're going to put us through the same thing with junior high teachers. And again, y'all are letting it happen. And once again, I'm up here saying, unfortunately, we expect this disrespect towards teachers. But I went to DEMLAC last week and saw just how little respect is shown to the parent members of that board, of that group. You don't know you should communicate big changes directly to the parents of your leadership team? We hear a lot of talk about centering the most marginalized community members, and then you let them be treated poorly and not prioritized. So educators aren't respected, parents aren't respected. How are we supposed to believe that that you're working to make this school district better when you don't support any of the people you claim to? Thank you.
Thank you for speaking. Sorry, Rich Lashua.
Excuse me. Almost 3 years ago, a Bell Schedule Committee noted that restoring a 7-period day at the junior highs would solve many problems across the board. However, it cost an estimated $2 million in today's dollars, and the district paused. This change required the approval of both the union and the district, and union approval seemed unlikely. Sadly, compensation tensions rose that year. As a strike loomed, the district did set aside funds for a 7th period, only releasing them in the 11th hour to offset the new salary increase. This is my 46th comment in 3 years addressing the current crisis. After realizing the increase would be a little over 10% of the district's annual underestimating of their income, the union agreed to it this fall and folded it into negotiations for this year. 2 weeks ago, we were told the district would not bargain the 7th period because they weren't mandated to at this time. We have the money. We have the union on board, ready to work. The district has suddenly backed out with no alternate solution for the immediate nor long-term problems we're trying to solve. The only logical conclusion I can draw is this district isn't serious about solving problems. Leadership emphasizes respect, decorum, and leading our community as examples of civil adults. Yet this is an act of colossal disrespect. It's a slap in the face to the students who've protested here, community members who filled this room time and again begging to save arts programs, and I receive it as a personal and professional insult. I'm a junior high teacher, so the good news is you haven't lost my patience. The bad news is you're in critical danger of losing my vote. As a parent and citizen, I can't abide by a board that sees and hears about inequity in a system, gets a solution handed to them, and instead chooses to kick the can down the road one more year, 19 years and counting. I'm presenting to you the means and opportunity to correct racist flaws that reward the wealthy by punishing the poor. There's still time to do the right thing. The best thing for our kids, to give every child every chance, every day. This is what we all claim to stand for. Access to all of our programs is where we start.
Thank you for speaking. 2 minutes is over.
Let's go change the world.
Dr. Maldonado, we're getting a lot of comments about the 7th period. Is it true that this is gonna be a discussion topic for February?
This is scheduled to be a discussion topic at the February 10th meeting.
Thank you.
Becca Wrench.
Hello, I'm frustrated the district will not negotiate on issues like a 7-period day at the junior high and high school dismissals. That affects me both as someone who works at the high school as well. I have 2 high school students. This makes me very fearful for future negotiations. I'm afraid the district will refuse to negotiate even more items. I had hoped the district had learned from prior negotiations the importance of working with SBTA for the good of our students, staff, and families. I really hope we can get to a place where we work together. I think that really requires the leadership of our school board. At this point, I'm honestly quite disappointed in the way in which I don't feel like direction is coming from you in terms of but I think the district to negotiate with what the direction that they need from the people that we elected. Thank you.
Thank you for speaking. The next 2 speakers are Shauna Ray and Marina Torres Gross. After that, we will have speakers with Spanish translation, and so we'll get ready for that. So Shauna Ray.
Hello, everyone. My name is Shauna Ray, and I've been a teacher at the district for 14 years, and I currently work at SBCA. And I'd like to start off by giving you a number. I'm going to throw out $160,000. And let's just say that's the approximate cost of 2 credentialed teachers, a STEAM teacher and a general education teacher. And they've been asked to spend 45 minutes together, with one essentially acting as an aide. Spoiler alert, that was me. This happened last year at several sites also when classroom teachers were asked to push into STEAM. $160,000, possibly, or even more. And I have to ask, why? Why was that seen as a better use of time than actually giving teachers more prep time? There seems to be a notion that elementary teachers can't be trusted with prep time. Some think that extra prep time simply equates to the teacher making copies, being on a computer, just talking. But making copies is preparing for instruction. Roberta talked about that already. Otherwise, my kids can't do the decimal math sort from IM. Being on a computer means responding to emails, entering DIBELS data, completing required trainings, and filling out district surveys. And talking often means collaborating with paraeducators, consulting with the psychologists, or communicating with parents. Elementary teachers simply have too much to do to waste time. I haven't even talked about the grading, the planning, accommodations, or differentiating instruction. Some say increased prep time is too hard to implement, but junior high and secondary teachers meet for PLCs once a month, while elementary teachers meet 2 or even 3 times a week. Even if some of those meetings were converted to prep time, we can meet our contractual prep averages, something that currently doesn't happen for all teachers, especially during conference months. We are preparing students for a future that doesn't yet exist, but to do that well, teachers need to be prepared too. Please consider increasing our prep time. Thank you.
Thank you for speaking. Marina Torres Gross.
Hi, my name, my name is Marina Torres Gross. I am a product of Santa Barbara Unified. My 92-year-old mother, she would slap me if she knew I was telling her age, went through Santa Barbara Unified. My grandmother went to Santa Barbara Unified. My kids are the 4th generation to be educated through Santa Barbara Unified. They both graduated from Santa Barbara High, and they have both graduated from college. So, both my parents, my dad is now deceased, were teachers for Santa Barbara Unified. So I am a product all the way around of Santa Barbara Unified. I currently teach at Harding preschool at Harding. This is my 11th year with the district and 4th year teaching preschool. I have a multiple subject teaching credential, and I have the ECE units allowing me to teach in a preschool setting. People might not understand what it is exactly that we do with our students. We don't just play. Like any elementary classroom, we have a curriculum that we follow. It's called Pre-K On My Way. We also have to provide observation and documentation twice a year for our desired results developmental profile. Each developmental measure requires at least 3 pieces of evidence. General education students have 29 measures that we have to fill, and students with IEPs have 43 measures. Times this by 3 pieces of evidence. And that's a lot of observation and documentation we have to do. We also have parent conferences twice a year, as well as attending IEP meetings. We are the first in the line of educators to make referrals when early intervention seems necessary. We do a lot, and we have 2 sessions that are 3 hours apiece. We turn around, we finish the morning session, we turn around and we do it all over again for the afternoon group of kids. We have no time to do our DRDPs. We have to squeeze it in wherever we can, and often this means doing them on our own at home.
Will you please wrap up your comments? 2 minutes.
Yes. So it's a very busy day. I will show you. This is our DRDPs that we have to do.
2 minutes is over. We do want to let other people speak. Would you please?
There's not very many people back behind me, so let me finish, okay? So here's my DRDP booklet, which is like my Bible, and these are all the measures that we have to fill. Also, I want to finish off in saying that in the last 4 years, I have watched Adams, McKinley, and Los Flores close its preschool classrooms. That's 5 sessions of preschool that families have lost. Preschool is cost prohibitive for most families in Santa Barbara Unified. You might think we do not have room for both TK and preschool, but preschool, no, I'm not done.
Would you
I'm not done.
please- You can write to the board members.
No, I'm not done.
But you have
I have
speakers
like 2
who are
sentences
up-
left.
Okay.
I'm not going to argue.
Please say your 2 sentences and be
TK is not a substitute for the early learning that is done in preschool. Children need the time in preschool to develop and mature before they can head off successfully to TK. I ask, please have some transparency for what your plans are for us as ECE, instead of leaving us as teachers and parents and students guessing what's going to come next. Are you going to do away with us, or are you going to keep us going? Thank you.
Thank you for speaking. The next 3 speakers will require Spanish translation. The first person will be Victor Carmona, followed by Arturo Valentin, and then Jasmine Neri. Do we have our Spanish? Victor Carmona.
Buenas tardes, miembros del Consejo, Superintendente Maldonado y a todos los presentes. Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Víctor Carmona, ahora participando como miembro de la comunidad.
Good evening, everybody, members of the board, Superintendent Maldonado, and all of the staff and public. My name is Victor Carmona, and I am a member of this community.
Mi comentario es acerca de la importancia de los comités ILAC y DILAC, también lo relacionado con los estudiantes YEL o multilingües emergentes y los resultados que se planearon al obtener con el Plan de California English Learners Roadmap, creado en el 2017, y en este nos dejan saber algo de la historia y cómo y por qué fue creado a raíz de la Proposición 58.
My comment tonight is about the importance of the MLAC and DEMLAC committees, also the information that's related to emergent multilingual students, and the results that we were planning to obtain with the California English Learners Roadmap created in 2017. And in that plan, we learned about the history of why this was created, and it was based, or it came from Proposition 58.
En este plan, el cual se nos compartió en una convención en el año 2018 a padres de familia, miembros del comité de este distrito, que muy amablemente nos invitaron a San Francisco, California, se nos da a conocer estrategias para el mejoramiento de los resultados de los alumnos aprendices de inglés, presupuestos destinados a este tema y otra información importante.
So this plan, which was shared with us during a convention in 2018, that was for families and members of these committees here at the district, which we were very happy to be invited to in San Francisco, California. We learned about the strategies to improve the results for emergent multilingual students and English learners, and we also learned about the budgets that were designated for that topic and other very important information that's related to all of this.
Me gustaría mencionar que uno de los párrafos menciona los 3 principios. En este menciona la importancia de los líderes como el plan maestro y los comités de padres de familia ILAC y DILAC.
And I would like to mention that one of the paragraphs in the plan mentions the 3 principles, and it mentions the importance of leaders, like in the master plan, and the committees of parent leaders like MLAC and DEMLAC.
Mi sugerencia es analizar con los padres de familia la importancia de los comités ILAC y DEMLAC. De acuerdo a los estatutos, no son subordinados al distrito, sino que son autónomas, algo que ya no se está llevando a cabo. En este plan ya mencionado explica que son los encargados de estar enfocados en el cumplimiento de las metas, basados en el plan maestro, las sugerencias a los miembros del consejo de este distrito, etc.
And I would suggest that we analyze along with parent leaders the importance of these committees, the MLAC and the DEMLAC, which are in the statutes, which are not subordinate to the district, but are supposed to be autonomous. And this is something that is not happening anymore. And in this plan, which I already mentioned, it explains that the people in charge should be focusing on making sure that the goals are being accomplished, the goals that are based in the master plan, the suggestions to the members of the committee of this district, etc.
Mr. Carmona, we are at 4 minutes. Is there a wrap-up statement? Would you like to write more to the board members about your thoughts?
Okay, let me finish. I'm going to say the last paragraph. Una de las alternativas a realizar estos resultados es retomar las sugerencias ya mencionadas en abril 3 del 2023 en un comentario público donde se sugiere que una agencia externa independiente nos ayude a analizar los resultados como se han analizado en su momento 3 problemáticas muy importantes en este distrito. Este tema de los estudiantes como segundo idioma no es menos importante que los otros ya analizados por estas agencias independientes. Muchas gracias.
The thing that I would like to suggest is that we take the suggestion that was made during one of the public comments on April 3rd, 2023, which was to get an external independent agency to help us analyze the results. Given that we've had external agencies analyze results in the past, and so this topic would be no less important than all of the others that have been studied by independent organizations. Thank you.
Gracias.
Thank you for speaking. Arturo Valentin.
Sí, buenas noches, miembros de la Junta. Mi nombre es Arturo Valentín, soy miembro del comité DEMLAC y comparezco hoy para abordar los hechos del 22 de enero, los cuales representaron una ruptura significativa en la transparencia y la participación de los padres. Quiero resaltar 4 puntos críticos sobre la conducta de la administración.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Arturo Valentin, and I am a member of the DEMLAC committee, and I am here to address the events of January 22nd, which represented a significant breakdown in transparency and parent participation. I want to highlight 4 critical points regarding the administration's conduct.
El primer punto es negación de derechos fundamentales. La administración nos negó explícitamente el derecho a voto, incluso después de que el comité aprobó modificar la agenda. Se llegó a afirmar que este comité no se rige por la ley Creaney ni por la ley Brown, sugiriendo que la administración puede operar sin la transparencia legal que exige el Estado de California.
The first point that I would like to highlight is, number 1, denial of fundamental rights. The administration explicitly denied our right to vote, even after the committee had approved an amendment to the agenda. It was even claimed that this committee is not governed by the Green Act or the Brown Act, suggesting that the administration can operate without the legal transparency required by the state of California.
Punto número 2, la falta del debido proceso. La destitución de nuestra copresidenta electa, Jasmine Neri, se manejó sin transparencia y a espaldas del comité. Al omitir deliberadamente ese tema en la agenda pública, la administración impidió que los padres tuviéramos voz. El DEMLAC debe funcionar como un cuerpo asesor de padres, no bajo un mandato administrativo unilateral.
Point number 2, lack of due process. The removal of our elected co-president, Jasmine Neri, was handled without transparency and behind the committee's back. By deliberately omitting this from the public agenda, the administration prevented parents from having a voice. DEMLAC must function as a parent advisory body, not an administrative mandate.
Número 3, crisis de liderazgo. Los errores de procedimiento fueron desestimados como parte de una curva de aprendizaje. Sin embargo, tras 3 años en el puesto de liderazgo, ignorar los protocolos básicos de una junta es una cuestión de responsabilidad profesional. Como señalaron varios padres en la reunión, la administración no ha logrado construir una conexión genuina entre la comunidad, utilizando las juntas como talleres informativos en lugar de sesiones de asesoría.
Point number 3, crisis of leadership. Procedural errors were dismissed as part of a learning curve. However, after 3 years in this leadership role, ignoring basic meeting protocols is a matter of professional responsibility. As noted by parents during the meeting, the administration has failed to build a genuine connection with the community, using meetings as informal workshops rather than advisory sessions.
Punto número 4, ambiente hostil. Contamos con testimonios de la presidenta del PTA de Santa Bárbara Community Academy y de observadores neutrales que describen el trato hacia los padres como agresivo e irrespetuoso. El hecho de que esto ocurriera mientras que la superintendente estaba presente es profundamente preocupante y sugiere una falta de rendición de cuentas.
Point number 4, hostile environment. We have testimony from the SPCA PTA president and neutral observers describing the treatment of parents as aggressive and disrespectful. The fact that this occurred while the superintendent was present is deeply concerning and suggests a lack of accountability.
En conclusión,
Mr. Valentin, you're at 4 minutes. Do you have a comment to wrap up what you're saying?
En conclusión, las reuniones del DEMLAC deben retomar su propósito original, ser un espacio donde los padres brinden asesoría significativa y encuentren las soluciones reales. Solicitamos una investigación formal sobre estas violaciones procesales y la restauración de la autonomía del comité bajo el Código de Educación de California.
In conclusion, DEMLAC meetings must return to their original purpose, a space for parents to provide meaningful advice and find real solutions. We request a formal investigation into these procedural violations and the restoration of the committee's autonomy under the California Education Code.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for speaking. The final speaker is Jasmine Neri.
Okay, before Ms. Neri speaks, I'd like to ask a question. Tengo una pregunta antes de que hable, por favor. No, de nosotros. Yeah. No. I had a question as to what happened in terms of the parent that was the co-president and why it was the case that they were not able to continue as co-president. Was the child disenrolled or what is it that happened? Oh, yeah, I'm not interrupting your speaking. I'm addressing the points that Mr. Valentin brought up. Yeah, you can go ahead.
Yes, can we get clarification? We have public comment on non-agenda matters. If the board members have questions, at what time or at what point is it appropriate for us to ask questions?
I think right after the comment that you have a question about.
So I agree. Ms. Neri, will you please speak?
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Oh, did you say the opposite of that?
Well, I think
okay, sorry.
Director
Yes,
Munoz's
I was
question
asking
pertained to
for,
the.
right, I was asking for clarification as to the change, with the co-president of DEMLAC.
I can just respond very briefly. I'm not going to speak specifically about any situation, but I can tell you that once an individual no longer has a child enrolled in a district school, the DEMLAC bylaws that were adopted by that committee prohibit the person from continuing to serve on the DEMLAC, and the membership terminates. So no vote is possible. It happens automatically under the bylaws, and that's Article 3, Sections 3 and 5.
Oh, thank you.
Who writes the bylaws? Is it the DEMLAC committee that writes them?
They approve them, yeah.
So basically, the DEMLAC committee approves who can serve on DEMLAC?
Yes. And it's also with reference to some of the membership on the DEMLAC is conditional on membership in an MLAC. And so the MLAC bylaws for each individual school are also implicated.
So basically, you would need to be a member of an MLAC at a particular school, and then...
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not able to dialogue. Yeah, that's not allowed, no.
No, just to add,
No
that's
es
why,
per-
that's
no
why
es
we try to vote
permitido.
on that matter, and that's why they deny our vote. They just say we can vote on that.
Ms. Sarah, you have time to speak. Would you like to speak now?
Yes, please. I'm gonna, just adjust for 4 minutes. Yes? Okay. This is a roll. Okay. I know this is. Okay. Buenas noches, honorables miembros de la mesa directiva. Ningún derecho puede considerarse garantizado en la educación cuando aceptamos que otros no lo tengan.
Good evening, honorable members of the Board of Education. No right in education can be considered guaranteed when we accept that others do not have it.
Mi nombre es Jasmine Neri. Soy madre de un hijo que es estudiante emergente multilingüe en este distrito. Además, fui copresidenta electa democráticamente de DEMLAC, el comité asesor de padres creado para garantizar la participación de familias en las decisiones que afectan a los estudiantes multilingües.
My name is Jasmine Neri. I am the parent of a child in this district who is an emergent multilingual learner. I also previously served as a democratically elected co-president of DEMLAC, the parent advisory committee created to ensure family participation in decisions affecting multilingual learners.
Comparezco hoy con respeto, pero también con claridad. No estoy aquí para hablar de personas ni de asuntos individuales, sino de proceso. Porque cuando el proceso falla, las familias pierden confianza y los estudiantes pierden protección.
I am here tonight with respect, but also with clarity. I am not here to speak about individuals or personal matters. I am here to speak about process, because when process breaks down, families lose trust and students lose protection.
Antes de la reunión más Antes de la reunión más reciente de DEMLAC, la administración del distrito notificó por escrito que mi cargo como copresidenta concluyó automáticamente, sin que existiera una votación de la mesa directiva de DEMLAC, una acción del cuerpo de padres, ni información oportuna a los padres.
Miss Neri, I'm sorry, we paused the clock. Can we pause the clock?
We did.
The mic is not on. Can you?
Yeah.
It is on?
I mean, I don't know,
We're not.
something over there.
We're hearing? Okay. Thank you.
Okay. I'm sorry. Antes de la reunión más reciente de DEMLAC, la administración del distrito notificó por escrito me notificó a mí por escrito que mi cargo como copresidenta concluyó automáticamente, sin que existiera una votación de la mesa directiva de DEMLAC, una acción del cuerpo de padres, ni información oportuna a los padres sobre este proceso. Esta determinación administrativa fue posteriormente utilizada durante la reunión pública de DEMLAC para impedir que la mesa directiva del comité revisara asuntos, presentara mociones y deliberara.
Prior to the most recent DEMLAC meeting, district administration stated in writing that my role as co-president had terminated automatically without a vote of the DEMLAC executive board, without action by the parent body and without timely notice or information provided to parents. That administrative determination was later used during the public DEMLAC meeting to prevent the executive board from reviewing issues, making motions, or deliberating.
Durante esa misma reunión, los padres recibimos materiales distintos a los que se habían distribuido previamente, de acuerdo a la ley. Presenté una queja formal dirigida al comité DEMLAC, no al distrito, con la expectativa de que los padres pudiéramos revisarlas, deliberar y votar conforme a nuestros estatutos.
During that same meeting, parents were given materials that differed from those previously distributed. I submitted a formal complaint to the DEMLAC committee itself, not to the district, with the expectation that parents would be able to review it, deliberate, and vote on it in accordance with the bylaws.
Sin embargo, este proceso fue bloqueado, como justamente ahorita se ve en mi comentario. Se impidió una moción y la participación del cuerpo de padres fue cerrada sin votación ni discusión.
However, that process was blocked, kind of like my comment was earlier. A motion was prevented, and the participation of the parent body was closed without a vote or discussion.
En ese momento se afirmó que públicamente que la ley Brown no aplica a DEMLAC y con base en esa afirmación se cerró el proceso, ignorando también que nos acogemos a la ley Green en este comité.
At that point, it was stated publicly that the Brown Act and the Green Act do not apply to DEMLAC, and based on that assertion, the process was closed.
Quiero ser muy clara, DEMLAC es un comité asesor de padres creado por ley. Si los padres no pueden deliberar, presentar mociones ni votar, y aparte acceden a información oportuna, entonces la participación deja de ser significativa y se convierte en una simulación.
I want to be very clear. DEMLAC is a parent-led advisory committee created by law. If parents cannot deliberate, make motions, or vote, then participation is no longer meaningful. It becomes a formality.
Hoy
Ms. Neri, it is 4 minutes.
Yes,
Do you have
I'm
a
gonna
wrap-up statement? Thank you.
I got it out for
I
3 minutes,
appreciate-
I'm sorry, I apologize. Hoy solicito respetuosamente a esta mesa directiva 3 acciones concretas, que revise formalmente lo ocurrido en esa reunión pública de DEMLAC, que garantice que los comités asesores de padres puedan operar sin interferencia administrativa y conforme a la ley, y que se proteja el derecho de las familias a participar en procesos abiertos, transparentes y respetuosos.
Today, I respectfully ask this board for 3 specific actions. That the board formally review what occurred during that public DEMLAC meeting, that parent advisory committees be allowed to operate without administrative interference and in compliance with the law, and that the rights of families to participate in open, transparent, and respectful processes be protected.
Como madre de un estudiante emergente multilingüe que cuenta con un IP, sé que los procesos existen para proteger a los estudiantes, especialmente aquellos que son los más vulnerables. Cuando esos procesos se debilitan, todos perdemos.
As a parent of an emergent multilingual learner who also has an IEP, I know that procedures exist to protect students, especially those who are the most vulnerable. When those procedures are weakened, everyone pays the price.
Thank you for speaking. That concludes public comment on non-agenda matters.
Board members, I do want to let you know that we have received the complaint to the DEMLAC executive team, and there is a meeting scheduled tomorrow night with Dr. Martinez, the DEMLAC executive members, and our general counsel to address that issue.
I appreciate that information. Thank you.
Will a board member who's on, is there a board member who's on DEMLAC?
Yes, I'm the one that's on the DEMLAC committee, so I can certainly be present.
Yes, I'm the second board member. I would be happy to attend. That's
Tomorrow at 6 o'clock. And yes, you can both attend.
Okay, now we will go to board comments and correspondence. If board members would like to share a comment. Ms. Caffrey?
Thank you. I have three things to talk about briefly. The first is a celebration about Off and Away all day at our junior highs. I think that is a huge accomplishment, and I just really thank the principals, everyone who was involved in making that happen, and also the tech committee. And I think that this is really an example of parents, teachers, the district all working together very productively on behalf of students, looking at what is the research that Off and Away access to cell phones is really negative for children, and making a very positive change in our schools. So thank you very much. I think that is a huge shift, and we just need to celebrate it. So I'm very happy about that. Then, secondly, I just want to talk about, Trustee Escobedo briefly mentioned that we're now 7th period is not a negotiated topic, so I'm just one board member, but Trustee Escobedo mentioned that on February 10th, is that correct? There's going to be a discussion item on 7th period day. I am 100% behind a 7th period day. I think it's extremely important, and now we can openly talk about it. So I'm just putting that out there. And then the third thing is, prior to being on the board, I served on the district advisory committee for Goleta, and also my school site council for my son's school in Goleta. And so I really know the value of, on a personal level, the value of parent advisory groups, and that they need to be true advisory groups where parents are able to set the agenda and have discussions. So I am delighted, and I really appreciate that we're taking the step tomorrow to have a conversation, including a good group of people about how parents on DEMLAC can feel that they truly are the ones, as an autonomous group, who are able to speak up for their kids. So those are my three comments.
Okay, Dr. Beal?
Trustee Caffrey actually said a few things that I would repeat, so I'm not going to do that. The February 10th meeting to talk about the 7th period is really the way it should happen. There has to be more than just board members, district staff, and the SBTA talking about this. It needs to involve the principals. I would love for some students to be involved in this conversation. I personally, and once again, we all have our personal ideas of what the 7th period is. I know the conversation is to allow an extra period so students who have to take intervention courses have the opportunity to take an elective. But I look at it as an opportunity to offer our students more. Our DLI students coming from elementary schools maybe being able to take an advanced Spanish course, maybe teachers teaching a course they would really love to teach that's not part of the usual subjects, and just offering just a richer atmosphere for our 7th graders. So I think it's important. I do support it, but I feel that there needs to be a larger conversation about how and why and where this will happen. I am probably 12 meetings less than Rich Lashua, because I started listening to him when I joined the board. And it has been a long conversation. It has been very confusing. I totally admit that. We went back and forth in 2024. Do we ask for it? No, it has to be negotiated. But the conversation was confusing, and in the end, we just did not have the conversation. And we are now committing to having the conversation and talking about it and its implications and its cost and whether everybody is ready for it. So let's have that conversation on February 10th. I tell everybody to bring it. Let's talk about it. We've been asking for community conversations, and this is what this is going to be. And it's going to be a discussion. We're not going to make it a decision because we want to allow people to have time to think. And maybe it will lead to a decision at the next meeting if the discussion is fruitful. And so I think this is how it happens. It doesn't happen, again, behind closed doors. And there are other people who have needs too, so we need to address that also.
Okay, now we will move on to item E1 in the report and discussion agenda. I'd like to invite the staff to present on this topic. And
Yes,
first
that'll
of
be
all-
Mr. Tedeschi for the audit report for the period ending June 30th, 2025. I'm buying him some time to get up here.
Thank you. Good evening, members of the board, Dr. Maldonado, everybody. I know this is an exciting agenda item as we bring a very full financial report, as we do every year in January. Actually, we have 3 reports, and the process is we close the year June 30th, and then the auditors begin reviewing all of the entries and all of the documents that we put together to create our financial statements. And so what we have this evening is one of the reports is our report on our audited financial statements for the district. That includes the financial statements, internal controls, federal awards, and state compliance. We also have a report on each Measure I and Measure J, the bond audits that are all accounted for in separate funds, and that involves a review of internal controls and other compliance, and mainly compliance with a bond measure to make sure that the money's being spent as it should be spent. And for those who may not be very familiar what an audit is, it is a process where we have an external accounting firm, Eide Bailly. They come in and they basically first will do a risk assessment and evaluate what areas, well, based on their audit guide, that have to be looked at. They create samples of transactions to review because their goal is to provide a reasonable assurance that our financial statements are accurate in all material ways, that there's no material misstatements. And so that involves just samples. And so they are not saying that they've reviewed every single transaction that makes up these financial statements, but they do a very good job of sampling accordingly to make sure that they can feel good about the fact that our audit, that our financial statements accurately represent the financial status of the district. And in doing those tests of transactions, they go through all of the compliance work. They make sure that all the different programs are within compliance with the state guidelines. There's a state audit guide that kind of leads the way through the process. And so after all of that work is done, they come up with these reports. They'll be available on our website. We have some printed copies. Hopefully the board has all received a copy. And part of our process here is we have an audit committee. And once the audit is issued, the report, then I meet with our internal auditor, Alana Matlick, who's a CPA on my staff, who does a phenomenal job working with the auditors, getting them all the documents that they need, working with them for many, many hours to make sure. And so she sat in the audit committee meeting with myself and our 2 board members, and we were able to go through the process, ask some questions, and even there was a request to actually have a conversation with the audit partner, which I believe happened, so that's always a good thing. And basically what we do is really the big important part for me is to go through any findings that may have come up during the audit process, and I'm very happy to say that we did not have any financial findings, any material misstatements, no big adjustments. There was one item about the certification of instructional materials was a little bit late, but we made sure that that happened on time this year, and it's on our governance calendar going forward, so that will not happen again. And so through the report, I will request that people do, if they are interested, look at it. At the very beginning on page 1 is the actual audit report, where they state that whether they have a problem with our financial statements or they do not. And I'm happy to say that our auditors did not. The audit went very well. As I was saying, it's as of June 30th of 2025. So 6 months later, here's your report. But there's a lot that goes into producing these audits and the report. I would like to refer people to the notes section that starts on page 27, because basically it goes through our organization and provides a very detailed explanation of the organization, our accounting methods, and a lot of information as it goes down the balance sheet through the different accounts, explaining our bond measures. I mean, even myself as the CBO, I often will refer to the audit report if I don't remember all the maturity dates on the bonds. Everything is all in there. There's also a report on page 91 that addresses their evaluation of internal controls. And it's key to remember they rely on our internal controls, but they also state that there are always ways around internal controls. And so internal controls are not perfect, but they do test them to determine how much testing they will do. They seem to be satisfied with how we are set up as a district, but they do say there are always possibilities of things working their way around internal controls. And so just kind of a qualifying statement there. And then on page 100, I'm happy to say page 101, 102 are blank pages, which would have been filled with audit findings if we had any. So hooray for the staff here, and that includes everybody that's involved in compliance and accounting for things. And so with that, and then the bond audits were the same, no findings, no material adjustments or anything of that nature. So that is my brief presentation on the report. I'm happy to take any questions and remind the public if anybody would like a copy of these reports, they will be posted if they're not already to the the fiscal department webpage on the district website.
Okay, thank you. Are there any public comments on this item?
There are no public comments on this item.
Okay, board members, are there any comments on? And I'm sorry? Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I'm a member of the audit committee, and I just want to say thank you to you and also to Ms. Matlick.
Alana Matlick,
Alana
yes.
Matlick is correct. Anyway, for the immense amount of work that it takes to do this process, and also we heard from the auditor just how professional the whole team was. So I just wanted to say thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Escobedo?
I also want to give my thanks. In my role as board president, I got a chance to sit with the auditor for an extended period of time to ask questions. She asked me questions. We spent, I think, 45 minutes to an hour going through the process, her findings at that point. She asked me a lot of questions to talk about our staff. She also highlighted, I know I've brought this up before, that it is unusual to have as many CPAs on our staff as we do, and that it's a good sign for us. And I think that plays out in this audit report, in the findings. And I just want to say, Mr. Tedeschi, as a CPA, you're leading this team, and I just want to thank you for your work, and then Ms. Hernandez, who obviously was a part of financial stewardship last year.
Thank you.
Okay, any other comments? No, okay, so that concludes this.
Yeah, it's not an action item, just need to
No.
receive it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now we're going to go to E2, mental health and wellness supports. The discussion of mental health and, oh, thank you very much.
Oh, thanks. Good evening. I'm going to review the mental health and wellness supports programs for the Santa Barbara School District. This should look very familiar to you all. This is a Culture of Care program, which is a whole child approach to our mental health services, which helps us design and create a more just system for all students. You're going to notice that the first layer of our approach is sense of belonging and trusted adult. What this does is that it incorporates every staff member in this Santa Barbara School District as a holder of the wellness program and experience for all students. This is the trusted adult framework, which highlights 5 key components as what is a trusted adult in our school. This creates alignment across schools so that all students are experiencing similar relationships with our staff members. Then we have our second layer, which is our social emotional learning, which we have our curriculum, various grade levels. Second step is for elementary. based education is for middle school, and Ripple Effect is for high school. And for middle school and high school, we have counselors that also do social emotional learning lessons as needed with the topics that come up. Then we have our instructional framework, and if you look at the B, that's where our social emotional learning strategies are embedded into our daily practices and our daily lessons. Then the next couple of slides, I'm gonna review mental health awareness and mental health support system. Here I want to highlight the RISE Mental Health Clinicians Program, which we have a mental health clinician at every elementary, middle school, and one high school. We're piloting that program. We're also part of the CYBHI program. We are part of the first cohort for the implementation funding, and we're part of the third cohort for the billing program. So at some point, our mental health clinicians will be able to bill for the services, and we'll get revenue for them, and that will help us sustain our mental health services in a long-term plan. There we go. These are our mental health support roles in our site. First, we have our psychologists in our ERMs that offer counseling sessions to our students with IEP plans. Then we have counselors that support with social emotional counseling sessions for our general population. And then we have mental health clinicians that support with short-term therapy and also do referrals for long-term therapy and any other more intensive therapeutic needs for students that may need it in our school site. And we partner up with many of the community members. Then community partners. Wellness Center Coordinator is a role in the high schools. We have one position at each high school. Dos Pueblos has had one for 2 years that has been funded through a generous foundation. And then we have San Marcos that has their position, and they have Esteban, who's amazing and has it going already. And then we have Santa Barbara High School, who still has a position open, and we're looking for the right staff member to fill in that position. And then we have our youth reach workers that serve a small targeted population of our students, that support students that have a little bit of lack of trust maybe in the school system, struggle to create positive relationships or positive experiences. And what they do, we have 3 for the district. What they do, they work with the students, they become the trusted adult, and they start developing that trust so that they can transfer it to staff members. They also create positive experience in school and then positive exposure in the community. This slide is the one that we're super proud of. This is the data that shows our mental health clinicians what they do and how much they do. This was last year's data. Last year we got 725 referrals received. Out of the 725, we have 537 students that were served with short-term therapy, which in school, and then we had about 238 that were referred to community connections to meet their mental health needs. That helps, got us to a 74% that we served our students. Now, why is it 74? What happened to the other ones? So some of those scenarios, what ends up happening is that they submit a referral, the mental health clinician goes through it and indicates what services they may need. Sometimes it's just like a quick check-in. They don't need short-term or long-term therapy, depending on what their needs are. Those check-ins they happen, they are being served, but they don't add to this load. The other scenario is that they go into short-term therapy, and then we realize that maybe based on their needs, they should go through the IEP process. So then they go there for those services. Sometimes they get a referral from the school, but then the parents don't agree with the therapy. Our mental health clinicians do everything to educate and remove the stigma, but at the end of the day, they decide if they want to move forward with the services. So those are just various scenarios that can happen that kind of tells you a little story of where we get the numbers, okay? And then we have this school year's data. From August to December, we've already received 374 referrals. And then out of those, we've served 272 with short-term therapy in our school sites, and 101 go to our community partners. And we're still at the 73%. Okay. These are the community partners that we work with and we refer out. I do want to highlight two that we work that are not on here. We have SB Network and Be Well that support with grief counseling when we have a site need, a school site need. And then lastly, what do our students say about our mental health and wellness support? If we look at the top question that talks about 87% of our students in 3rd through 6th grade believe they have or feel they have a trusted adult on the school site, which is a great number. Then the questions below are more of a self-management, so they fall more under the social emotional learning, which is about 50-ish average, but we want to keep in mind that this is the age where they're still learning how to navigate their emotions, so this is pretty age appropriate for that grade level. We move into high school and we still are in the 80. We have 81% of our students that feel they have a trusted adult in our high school and middle school, which is great for that age range to feel that way. And then if we look at their wellness scores, we're still around the 50th. I do want to highlight, and I know it was mentioned, that in our environment, in our society and environment, there's a lot going on and does create stress, and that will be reflected in the panorama and how they feel. So I want you to keep that in mind. What our society is going through will be seen here, and will probably be seen in the next panorama. Lastly, this is more the strands of the mental health section. And if you notice, the emotions are more the difficult emotions to navigate. These are the 3rd through 6th grade, which also is pretty age appropriate. And then we have 7 through 12, which has increased across the board, but I still feel, even with these numbers, that this highlights the importance of social emotional learning and mental health services, especially during this time, to continue this work so that we can offer the best education and offer those mental health services and protect their mental health well-being so that they can achieve academically. At this point, I welcome any questions.
Do we have any public comments on this item?
We do not have any public comment on this item.
Okay, board, if you have questions or discussion. Ms. Beal?
I have a question. Thank you for that presentation.
You're welcome.
So I'm glad that we're offering these services to these students, and it looks like from the percentage, from what you said, while it doesn't look like it's 100%, it's because not everybody needs the services that you're putting into that percentage. So
Yes.
I'm assuming, or I'm hoping that you're tracking if it's really 100%, like that there's been a response to these requests. Are you tracking that every single request has been responded to one way or another?
Yes, we do have a tracking system, and we have Dr. Amanda Lawrence, who's amazing and does all the clinical supervision for our mental health clinicians, and also keeps tracks of all of our students. So yes, we are.
Thank you. And then I have a second question, and this is really a question that has been asked by almost every person who goes to an LCAP meeting. So we have our panorama data, right?
Yeah.
Which is, we're looking at that as an assessment of our wellness of our students and how they feel at school. And then we have the services we offer. So where is the question, and this is really a student question, that asks, what is the gap? Is there something in our services that would improve that panorama data? Is there something in the survey? Like, how do we know to tailor our services? We can't make the world a 100% happy place. Right now, it's not very happy. So people are going to feel bad no matter what you do. But what I would like to know as a board member and as a person who participates in LCAP, is there anything we can do, right? And that's where I want to know where that question is being asked.
So it's not, I don't believe it's being asked in the panorama, but we do gather all of the data of our mental health clinicians and create patterns and trends as to why they're being referred. And when there isn't a service or we're not meeting the needs, that's when we look out to our partners. So right now, one of the areas that we do see is the support for our newcomers or an EML. And right now we're in conversations with AHA, which is one of our partners, to create a support system for them. There isn't anything right now specifically for what we're going through right now. But we do keep track of all that and do get get information so that we can adapt and adjust to the specific needs on the school site. I believe maybe Ms. Edison has historical knowledge as to if there's a question in the panorama that specifically addresses our services.
Trustee Bill, can you ask that question again? I was multitasking, I apologize.
I'm just trying to see if there is a place, because I said this is asked at LCAP about not just mental health, but all the things we offer, that if there is a percentage that looks lowish, are we able to answer the question that the services we have try to work in that area? As I said, we're not going to expect 100%, but we want to see if there's an area where we can bring the percentage up. And how do we ask that of students or families?
Yeah, so in the panorama survey questions, we have questions specifically about, do you feel supported? They're not targeted to which level of support, so there's a space for us to ask some different questions. What I want to offer to you is every year there's a new batch of kids added to the data, right? Because of the kids are moving up from second grade to third grade, so that's a new experience. So every year it's a new batch of kids. When we get to the junior high school space, every year half the kids leave. So they're onboarding more kids. So how I want you all to look at the data is progress. Are we continuously moving in the right direction, which is up? We have our baseline data. And are we responding to what the data says? And you will know that because of where it ticks, right? We do it twice a year, so we can pivot, as Christina said, in real time. But there will never be a perfect scenario where those numbers will go 80%, particularly around the how kids feel, because how they feel is conditional. What's happening in the world at the time, what classes they're taking at the time, what's happening in family at the time. If you recall when we shared the Panorama survey, the thing that was working most for kids at the time was boyfriends and girlfriends, right? You guys remember that? So for us, the reason we do it twice a year is we're not necessarily looking for last year to this year. When we did it in the fall, do we see growth in the spring? Because those are the same kids experiencing the same supports in the same time. And then we're looking in overtime to say, do we have a system and is it part of our culture now that we're constantly improving? So it's a little bit of both things to measure the current year, current kids, and then do some comparison. There's opportunities to do surveys for our students. In our first year, we did use a different tool where we were able to identify, and students and parents answered questions about their experience in mental health, so that we measured growth by kids graduated out of therapy. And so there's some opportunities for us to reimagine how we do it.
Thank you. That answers my question. And if I understand correctly, it sounds like when we look at our data in the spring, that's where we're going to look for their growth, and that answers the question right now as best we can. Thank you.
Yeah, I also want to add that if we look at the data that we have with our current partners, that we could pivot in the moment, not for next school year, because then we do get different kids with a whole new set of problems.
So I have a follow-up question to Trustee Beal, so I understand that our students are changing every year. The Panorama data also gives us percentile data compared to schools throughout the country. So, I mean, this is great. We saw an 8% bump in sense of belonging in 7th and 12th graders. So that we're doing something right. So that's amazing. And we also are at a low baseline. So basically, like, we're currently at the 20th to 39th percentile in the country in sense of belonging. So I'm wondering, like, how do we think about improving over time, because it seems like compared to our cohort, we have room to grow?
So first, just for clarity, it isn't across the country, it's across districts that use Panorama.
Oh,
so that's the
okay,
national, so it isn't
okay,
across the
got it.
country, okay? Just want to clarify that.
Okay, so I guess we still have room to grow.
Yeah, definitely. And then keep in mind that the mental health clinicians, this is their third year of implementation. Many of our programs we're seeing and evolving, and we're adapting it to our students of how we're going to do it next year, so that we meet those needs, which that's the most important part, right? Meeting the needs of our students that need the help right now, but also hopefully you're going to see that reflect in the Panorama the following year as we adapt our programs to the student needs.
Mr. Escobedo, oh, Carlos?
I had a couple questions. First is in terms of, I really appreciate all this data on the, mental health support that we give to students who are already struggling in our schools. But I was wondering if there's any steps that you know of that we're taking in terms of preventative measures. So before students start struggling, how are we going to set that up?
So that's the social emotional learning. That's where we are teaching them how to navigate their emotions, of just addressing them, what are difficult emotions, teaching them strategies, incorporating them to the daily lessons. We do also have the mental health clinicians and counselors at the middle school and high school do preventative classroom lessons that maybe pick a topic that's age appropriate that happens, but also teach them the right way of dealing with those emotions or that activity or that strategy, whatever that may be. So there is that proactiveness as it's age appropriate. Okay.
And does
And
that,
then we do have the Mental Wellness Center, which is a more proactive approach where it educates all of our high school students. And then our high school students are the ones promoting that wellness education activities. And that works also with a couple partners in our community.
got it,
Okay?
thank you. And then my other question was about the panorama data. I recognize that you were talking about how the data may seem like, I don't know, kind of low percentages in terms, or high percentages in terms of, when students are stressed or frustrated, but that this is also the time when students are kind of going through those emotions, when people are going through these emotions. Is there a way to I don't know, benchmarks we can compare these values to in terms of
Like bring out maybe our Latino community and how they voted or how they scored and our EMLs, or is that where you were thinking?
Yeah, and then also comparing not just across time and seeing how we improve, but to other, populations of students, maybe more general populations of kids, to compare, as an example, let's say 70% of students are struggling dealing with, worry or anxiety in class. But at that age level, 3rd through 6th, that is kind of where the benchmark is in a more general sense, in the more general population. Is there any comparison like that, so that maybe that 70% isn't so worrying anymore because that's where the general population is? I don't know if you get my
Well, I
question.
believe Board Member Caffrey was comparing the percentage to other schools that take the panorama. We can also compare grade level and race within our district. I thought that was where we were going. That might even be a good data point if you're focusing on a particular population. We can pull that out and see how they're struggling and how they answered in a certain one.
Yeah.
Is that kind of where we were going?
yeah.
Just to dig a little deeper, get into the weeds as to who is it really impacting and how is that 70 or 40 coming out?
Right, and
Yeah.
exactly. How
Yeah,
much
yeah,
value we should place on some of
Yes,
these data.
yes, we can pull that data. It takes a little while to pull it out, but we can do that.
Go ahead.
So I'm going to follow that thread. Is it possible, so it tells us where we rank to other school districts that are using Panorama. Is it possible to see the range of scores for the school districts that are using Panorama, to Mr. Vasquez's point, to understand if the highest benchmark for a school district who's in the one, or at the very top, performing at the very top of the Panorama surveys is, let's say, 70%. That would color our results a little bit more. I think most people look at these results and compare it to 100%, and that's what we're naturally aligned to do, is instantly you look at this and you see 50% or 60%, you think about grades, you think about failing grades, and that's not necessarily true, because as you pointed out, this is a normal time. You're going through puberty and your interpersonal issues that you're having to navigate for the first time, and relationships. So is it possible for us to see what the range of scores are for school districts that use Panorama?
The information we have is the percentile, and where are we
I see.
rating with that? What I want to offer is, we don't run those districts, and we don't know their conditions, and we don't know the things that they're establishing. I think, but yes, we can look at that information, but I think it's more important for us to measure the impact we're making on our families and our community based on where our baseline is, and that we keep making progress. And so we want to see high numbers in every score, not just around Panorama, but in all our performance for all of our students. It is helpful to look at it, but it's also helpful to take it in context of what that district is. Where is that district? What's the funding model for that district? What students are they serving? What are the needs of that population? I think we're on a great way. We've built a system to move in the direction. It's great to compare, but we're really focused on the day-to-day needs. And so we're leading the current system and designing the future one all at the same time. But we can bring back other information if you all are interested.
Yeah, I think I appreciate that. And I think really what we're trying to pull out is less about it is a little bit of comparative, but it's more about context setting for the scores, right? So I guess a different way of asking similar question that's more, I think, focused on our school district is when you get the data for a new school year for a Panorama survey, can you give us a little bit of insight into how you approach the data and talk to me about, we have a new cohort. Every year we know we're gonna have a new cohort. Kids leave our school district, we have new kids coming into our school district. As you pointed out in the junior high space, we have turnover of 50%, around 50% each year. So talk to us about how you can look at the data and walk away with the conclusion of these are environmental factors that might be playing a role into the scores that we're seeing. Here are the successes that we have. Here are the areas of opportunity. Can you color that a little bit for us and pull out how you come to those conclusions?
Yeah, so it's multiple levels of it. So there's what the district is looking for as trends across the school, because remember, the district office is the point of intervention. So when we see themes, it's how do we intervene? And then it's what the sites are looking at. We task them to look for 2 to 3 data metrics that they want to target that year. So they're going to, we can't do it all. We ask a lot of questions. We got a lot of data. We ask about how kids like math, how they like class. Like, we do a lot, which is great because student voice is the most important part of decision making. So we look at it from the district lens, right? We have God access, I say, to say what are our trends and where do we intervene at the district level? Then we ask sites to pick 2 to 3 areas that they're going to focus on so that they are intentional about what they're doing for the year. That way they can pinpoint, oh, we pivoted and did this. This is why this data mark changed. Not that we threw everything at the wall, right? Because we got a lot going on. The great thing about the Panorama platform is whatever data point they choose to focus on, there's a whole playbook of things they can do, whether at the teacher level, at the school site level. So we're like literally giving them, taking time away from the planning and research and giving them, if this is a strategy, you're gonna focus on it. Sense of belonging was really big for us. The last 2 years, we've been really focused on kids making sure that they had trusted adults and that they showed up to a school and classroom where they felt like they were seen, valued, and included and heard. And so we see that that is bearing fruit. And now we need to move on and pick some other things. So we look at it by disaggregated data. We can disaggregate by every data point that's in our student information system. So we have now it's not combating anti-Blackness, it's CABAW, right? And so we can pinpoint and say, how are our Black students responding to belonging in comparison to all other students and subgroups, to the point that you were making just a second ago about disaggregation. We also look at grade level. Where at the different grade levels do we see either opportunities to intervene or some great bright spots? I want to highlight Roosevelt. They last year had over 80, I think, and at the end of the year, once the data finished, they were about 90-something% of implementation of the second step curriculum. Well, what do we see in growth in kids also, whether small or large, is the skill sets that they have to manage, as Christina was sharing. So we're looking at it as point of intervention. We're looking at it for bright spots so we can tap the school sites that are doing the bright things and say, share that with your colleagues. But we're also looking at it in comparison to our LCAP data. right? We say that we're gonna be doing targeted efforts for targeted groups because not everybody needs the same thing to succeed. Well, we're able to look at our data that way and say, well, which groups are feeling supported, and are those the students who are also achieving academically? So we do a lot of data deep dive. There's a data point for every point of operation of this district in there, because not only do we survey students, we survey parents and we survey staff and teachers. So teachers will say, oh, I know the curriculum, and our data shows that, right? Because our Ed Services Department has done a lot of work around understanding adopting curriculum first, and then understanding it. But they also are reporting that they need support and help in how do I manage my classroom. So that's a great place for us to go as far as mining for information on how we support students, staff, and families, because those questions are correlated. So that's how we look at it. If students say I'm having a great day and parents say my kids love school, then there's some correlation there. But if they say I can't get my kid out of school every day and kids say I love school, we have problems. There's a conflict. We need to be trying to dig a little deeper.
Go ahead, Ms. Kepler.
Oh, yeah, and thank you so much. And so what you see in the positive responses, those are kids who said for sure. If kids are neutral, that doesn't count as positive, because we don't want kids to be on the fence about do I belong. We want them to say, I feel like I belong, or I don't feel like I belong. So to us is not meeting the mark. So the data you see is the students that responded positively. And there's a lot of talk across the district about, well, neutral should be considered positive. No, it shouldn't, right? It's either a yes or it's a no. We're working for a yes or a no, not a maybe.
Thank you, I appreciate that. And I think that's really helpful for people to understand how you're using the data to, and I hear you, we can't do it all because it is a big set of data. We've seen it multiple times, but that you're picking these really intentional parts of the survey itself to also measure against the interventions that we're using. And it's really important, because I think people are wondering sometimes about how are we using this data to test the interventions and to make sure that we're seeing progress, or we're seeing student needs being met based on where we're making our investments. And I think this is it's really helpful to hear you both talk about how you're thinking about this data, because I don't know that it's totally intuitive when you pull it up on a board memo for people. Again, we think about 100%, and so when you see a 50%, it's shocking. You think, oh my God, something's happening here. But you're also taking into where are they developmentally, right? What is going on in the world?
Absolutely.
And also, what sort of interventions are we using, and are they working?
Yep,
So
absolutely.
I totally appreciate that across the board. My last question is, you talked about being able to disaggregate the data. How finely can you do that? Can you do that to the student, or do we keep it at the groups? And can you follow a student through to graduation as they move through our school district to see, is their sense of belonging increasing or decreasing as they're making it their way through our school district?
Yeah, so we can actually drill down to the student
Okay.
and groups of students. At the high school level, we group students by counselor, because it would be too much to group them by all their teachers. And at the elementary level, we group them by teachers, so they can look at their whole class section. And then we can go all the way down to see, has this student progressed since they've been in our system on whatever score we want to look at. For staff, we can't, it's anonymous. So it's whatever they report that we can query by. But for our students, it's connected to Aries. So it's every data metric we have all the way down to the student.
And so do we ever get, we have a single student, their sense of belonging is good. As they make their way through elementary, they get to junior high, which happens a lot of the time. They get to junior high, and all of a sudden their sense of belonging is not there. Does that, I'm maybe not the best example because that's probably not that rare, but
It's very, very common.
Yeah, but let's say there was another situation where it was, do red flags pop up for students that do have a sudden change in sense of belonging, or some other metric that we're measuring in the survey?
So we currently use as our data monitoring or metric system, Schoolytics. Panorama does have a similar platform for tracking and monitoring students. That's not part of our plan in our package, but that doesn't change that we can still look at an individual student to see where their scores have changed over time, which is what our MTSS teams do. If social emotional comes up for kids, they can go in and look to say, oh, well, let me see where this kid started 2 years ago and where did the change happen, and then try and drill down to get to the cause, like something changed in their life. But we don't use the platform for its progress monitoring tool because that's a separate module. We use Schoolitics, and we also use Aries, and we have some queries that presents dashboards where it shows kids their levels of concern or where we should be intervening at based on whether it's red, yellow, or green. So we do have another way to do that. It's just not part of what we use Panorama for.
Understood.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Head, Ms. Caffrey.
I just wanted to say, I thought the example of Roosevelt, Ms. Addison, was really helpful and exciting that with implementation of Second Step, they're seeing a change in student behavior. So I love hearing about results connected to a program. So thank you for that example. So my question is basically about the sustainability of the program. You know, it's expensive to provide these supports, and obviously, like, the number one thing, a child can't learn if they are not in a good mental, if they don't have healthy mental health, and I feel like on society level, we're really realizing that school districts alone cannot fund this. So I'm wondering about kind of the process for billing and the timeline and how much reimbursement we anticipate, and
Yeah, so thank you for that question. So we've been building our infrastructure since April of 2024 because we were informed about the potential for CYBHI. I attended a conference in 2023, heard about it, and I shot an email to Kim and Hilda, and I don't know who else at the time. It's like, oh, this is coming down the pipe. That was in 2023, okay? And so what I would offer for you around the cost of the program is we have a duty to serve the whole child. So when we are doing our budget should reflect our values of serving the whole child, and not that it's an additional cost to do so, right? I just want to highlight that. The reason—
Free money.
No, nothing's free, but here we go. So what we planned for was we actually started— I wrote the design for this program because when I started, we were almost at about $5 million of contracts for serving students. And every school site had a wait list, and the wait list rolled over to the new year, and the principals welcomed me to the district with fix this problem, okay? And so we really looked at how do we maximize our resources and serve the most kids and still partner, which is what we do, but ensure that while we had kids as a captive audience, that we were able to provide them the services in-house. So we started this with 4 clinicians and interns and has scaled up each year. So to your question about sustainability, we sought the grant for building capacity internally, which we received in October of 2024, to build our capacity. And with that grant, we put in place, okay, so what are we gonna need to do to be able to build if we're able to? So we did a lot of work around that. We got our clinicians all Medi-Cal approved. They all have their numbers to be able to build. The board approved the contract for our leader group, which does our billing for us. We got a discount in that, bless you. We got a discount in that for 4% instead of 10% of what they do for our services. And then we wrote a job description, which was our wellness center coordinators, because we knew that that also would be Medi-Cal approvable for our CYBHI. So since 2024, we've been building our system to try and maximize it and for sustainability. So what are we doing around sustainability? In January of 2025, we got approved, or in October, to begin billing in January 2025. The actual reimbursement fee schedule wasn't finalized until October 2025. So we couldn't bill from January because I'm sure, like all of you know, when dealing with a bureaucracy, there's what they say and then there's what they can make happen. So we are now at a place that we have our folks approved, we are qualified, we've written job descriptions in alignment to those things that are billable, and we have submitted our first rounds of bills. So your question of what is that reimbursement gonna look like, the same way they told us that in January we'd be able to bill but didn't approve the fee schedule until October, I can't answer that for you. But what I can tell you is once our reimbursements come in, we can then plan and project forward.
Thank you. That's very helpful. And I think it is so exciting, basically, that the state of California is realizing that schools are a great place to provide mental health services because kids are there and we have the expertise to do it, and that they're providing funding. So I think that we've made a huge step forward, and I'm excited about this.
I am too.
I guess my question is, so the state bureaucracy didn't approve till October. Does that mean we can at least back bill from January? Because like on all their websites, it says that you can begin billing January 1st. So it sounds like it's their problem. You know what I mean? And I just don't want to leave money on the table because it's millions of dollars.
Well, I wouldn't leave money on the table if it was my personal account, and I'm a good steward of public funds, so I'm not leaving none on the table for us. I will tell you, we attend and are invited to weekly office hours about CYBHI because it's changing that soon, that frequently, because they also have some dependency on federal dollars. So as soon as we know something, if we're able to back bill, we will, because we believe that what we've designed for our families in Santa Barbara Unified is top-notch and it's meeting the needs. So if they give us a yes, trust and believe, leaders will bill all the way back to January. It's just that it's a moving target right now, and I don't work in that bureaucracy, but I know we have our own bureaucracy, so I can only imagine at the state level it's magnified. But as soon as we know better, we'll do better.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Dr. Beal?
So now I'm just going to make a comment, it's very quick. And so what Carlos said about benchmarks, and so we're always looking at benchmarks, right? SAT scores, whatever, people getting into college. And so it sounds like you have such an enormous amount of work, right? And I can't wait for AI so we can do that individual drilling down per student, and not have to do that work that doesn't really use brain, just a graph. Anyway, I do think that there should be a practice in the district, I'm talking globally, not just about mental health, to look at benchmarks, and if there is an outlier, and I'm not saying in the negative sense, in the positive sense, that we do a little bit of work looking at what they have in their system and learning from that. And I think that really talks about so many areas, because I think shared knowledge is good for everybody, and it may not apply to us. But having a practice, if there is an outlier, because Panorama must give us benchmarks for some reason, unless they just want to give us paperwork, I don't know. And so if we could look at outliers and just quickly look at their district and say, do they have the same set of supports? Do they have the same situation? Are they a completely different part of the nation where there's more poverty, there's more wealth, whatever? Maybe it doesn't apply to us at all. But do a little bit of that and bring a little bit of that back to us. Like, is it possible for us to do this interesting thing? I don't know where that discussion happens, but I do think benchmarks have their utility. Not everything has to be looked at in detail, but maybe the real outliers that are maybe getting to a really high percentage, how did they get there, sort of thing.
Go ahead.
Sorry, this is just a quick thing going off what Dr. Beal just said. As you were talking about the outliers outside of districts, I was thinking, is there, in terms of outliers within our district as well, like maybe one school performing better than another, and then that same idea of shared knowledge going around, is there any analyzation in that front?
Yes, we meet once a month with the deans and the folks who are over culture and climate at the school sites, and they share best practices amongst themselves.
And I just have a comment, not to duplicate what's been said, but just a lot of appreciation for the information that was provided to us, for the hard work that you, have taken on, and all the progress that I've seen since it started. Thank you so much. And I'm certainly familiar with sitting in on the meetings and watching every week how they say this and, how the bureaucracy is going to work. So thank you for monitoring that.
Thank you. So now we will go on to the action agenda and the resolution for Black History Month. Okay, go ahead.
Good evening, members of the board, Superintendent Maldonado, members of the community. It is a profound honor to bring forward this resolution recognizing and celebrating February as Black History Month. This resolution serves as more than just a formal acknowledgement and commitment to honoring the invaluable contributions, resilience, and heritage of our Black community. We ask for your approval tonight as we celebrate the diverse voices that continue to shape our district and our nation.
Thank you. Yes, we have the resolution in front of us. Is there any board discussion? Okay, seeing none, may I have a motion?
I will move to approve resolution number 2025-26-23 in honor of Black History Month.
I second the motion.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion passes. We will go on to F2, Resolution on Structured Literacy and Letters.
So board members, at the last meeting, you asked us to bring a resolution to ensure that all our K-3 teachers receive professional learning and letters as a part of our board priority to improve literacy instruction. So before you is the resolution. We also added a couple of documents to give you an idea of how we would implement these. These are, of course, adaptable documents, but in case there were any questions about how we would follow through, those are before you. And with that, I turn over the item to the board for discussion or questions.
Okay, any discussion on this? Do I have a motion? Oh, I'm sorry. Dr. Beal?
I just wanted to point out, I don't know if anybody's listening to this meeting from afar, but that we have, this right now applies to general ed teachers from K to 3, and that really is in response to the fact that teachers may have had training, and this is the target group to start with, and we may expand our training in the future, and this allows for some flexibility for teachers who may have had training that gives them proficiency in this area. The plan is not to make a lot of exceptions, but to make sure that all of our teachers can teach the science of reading.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Beal. Do I have a motion?
I will move to approve resolution number 2025-26-24 in support of structured literacy and implementation of letters, professional learning.
I second the motion.
Can I have a vote? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Resolution passes. Now we will go on to action agenda F3, the second reading and approval of the board bylaw 9250, remuneration, reimbursement, and other benefits as amended by Assembly Bill 1390.
And this is the second reading. In the last discussion that we had, I didn't have any other edits that were given to us, so this is before you for approval or discussion or questions.
Okay, are there any comments or questions? No? Okay, may I have a motion?
I move to approve Board Bylaw 9250, remuneration, reimbursement, and other benefits as amended by Assembly Bill 1390.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, let's see, the resolution passes. We will now go on to F4, the second reading and approval of Board Bylaw 9150 regarding student board member.
And once again, this resolution allows for us to provide a stipend to our student board member, And at the last meeting, we also didn't have any additional edits. I think there was a question of it being retroactive to July. And I'm looking to Mr. Tedeschi. I think we said if the board agrees, we could do it retroactive to July. So I would need that confirmation as part of today's discussion.
You need that as part of the motion too. Okay. Then I will move to approve Board Bylaw 9150 student board member with approval to retroactively pay to July.
Do I have a second?
I second the motion.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, resolution passes. Thank you.
Can I just make another statement? We did read in this resolution that as we go forward, one of the things we're going to ask is that the student board member provide his vote first, and we know it's an advisory vote. So after this meeting, when we do take votes, we will be asking for his vote first, and then we will take the vote. Just wanted to mark that for our future meetings. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now we will go on to the consent agenda. These items are considered routine and will be approved in one motion unless pulled for discussion. Are there any items that board members would wish to pull? Okay, and I forgot to mention that we don't have any public comments, as one can see. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I second the motion.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay, consent agenda passes. Okay, now we will go on to coming events. There are coming events for February and that are listed on the agenda, including back-to-school nights for San Marcos, Dos Pueblos, and La Cuesta, Alta Vista, and Quetzal. And let's see, and of course, you know, with future agenda items, board members may request future agenda items to be added. And our next regular board meeting will be Tuesday, February 10th, 2026. And with that, we will conclude our meeting at 8:17.